good afternoon, and welcome to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. I am W.D. Foster Graham, the book review editor for Insight News, and I am your host for this Book Chat Thursday. The Conversation with Al McFarlane provides robust, stimulating, inspiring, and fascinating conversation representing all aspects of the African and African American diaspora. Now, for our channel, we're surpassing 1,100 subscribers, and we're shooting for 1,000. So if you enjoy our content and the issues that we bring, please like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Insight News Minnesota channel. Now, today, we are having a returning author to the Conversation with Al McFarlane. And is none other than the Reverend Kevin E. Taylor. He is now Director of Development, Donations, and Organizational Communications for NJCRI, New Jersey Community Resource Institute. He is also Bishop-elect in the Unity Fellowship Church movement, and he will be elevated to Bishop in October of 2024 as he pastors Unity Fellowship Church Newark in Newark, New Jersey. He looks forward to JADED, his first novel, being his first motion picture. Selfish, I Get Full of Yourself Without Guilt, and his accompanying guilt-guided journal is both in support of his continuous quest to guide people in living their greatest lives. It was released in 2022. He's working on Wine and Cheese, his latest novel, which will have a February 5th, 2025 release, and Mama Please, his next novel, will come out Thanksgiving of 2024. He has appeared on TVOne's Fatal Attraction several times as a journalist, and he looks forward to his 60th birthday celebration on September 1st. Well, birthday is September 4th, and as one who just had my birthday, I wish you a happy, happy birthday in advance. So it is my great pleasure to bring back to Conversation with Al McFarlane, Kevin E. Taylor.
Good afternoon, good sir. Good day. Good Book Thursday. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Well, it's great to have you back, Kevin. And
great to be here. I mean, I wish I could tell you what it feels like to be doing this work and to have a work that's, that's national, but that's in Minnesota, find me in New Jersey. That just shows you how beautiful it is for us to, to connect this community.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, I may have mentioned it when I was introducing you, but tell me more of what's been going on with you since you were last on the show.
So, as I noted, I'm working on 2 novels. In October, I will be elevated to the office of Bishop in Unity Fellowship Church Movement, which is a affirming African-American denomination that is around the globe. And under me will be New York, New York City, New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Maryland, DC, and Kenya. So I'm looking forward to being able to do this work nationally and globally, while living my best life as I prepare to turn 60.
Wonderful, wonderful. So now, since our topic is the importance of Black gay love stories, let's jump right into that.
So I mean, we've had these conversations off camera, offline, and now, as men of a certain age, I don't know that we even knew how to think about stories that involve people that look like us. If you got to the library and found something homosexual, it was clinical, and it was something that was that didn't have any humanity to it. So to be able to find stories wasn't even a thought. I still remember what it felt like looking at James Baldwin's Giovanni's Room and thinking, wow. But, like many thinking, so that means partner might not be Black and it might not happen in America. You know what I mean? Just always feeling like it was this otherness. And so I remember the groundswell of energy that happened when Elin Harris and then James Earl Hardy came out, and it's like, wait a minute, stories that that just include people that looked like but felt like. There were communities where my feet had landed before, and so it made my little hidden love story, from elementary school or middle school or high school, feel even bigger because it felt so meet at the library or walk in the park or nobody's home, so come over. And it gave it life, it gave it music, it gave it some energy and some surroundings. So to be able to sit down and tell these stories that aren't just about, oh no, my mom was not going to accept me when I come out, but talk about love and the journey of it, and so how some of that family hurt and church hurt plays into our capacity to let ourselves be loved is just a powerful, powerful thing for me.
It truly is, because I know, hey, I'm one of those baby boomers that was looking for those stories and stuff and didn't see them until, as you said, when I saw Elin Harris and as well as James Earl Hardy and then Stanley Bennett Clay.
Stanley Bennett Clay, yeah. And again, in that window when it felt like a door opened and a few people just kind of came through already, locked and loaded, and it just seemed like it changed everything to be walking, at one time with 3 or 4 books, in a backpack, and then to have like Terry McMillan's books, you know what I mean? To see that, I could be on the subway in DC and see 9 women on the subway reading the same book. And then to have, a copy of B-Boy Blues in my hand on the train and be like, well, if they could do it, I can do it. And look over and have a brother be like, hey, where'd you get that book? Where'd you get your copy? Because I've been looking for it, and have it open up new dialogues for connections for us. It just was really, really powerful.
That's true. Oh, and I see one of our subscribers, did the shout out. Michelle Delicious Delight, shout out to you. Thank you so much for being and supporting our channel. And she said, greetings to me and to you as our distinguished guest. So I say greetings to Brother W.
Michelle. I appreciate you.
So we definitely appreciate your support. When you were talking about something just about church hurt. I mean, so many of those of us who are Black and LGBTQ have experienced that church hurt. Would you like to elaborate on that for our viewers?
Our parents, our families, grew up with the same doxology, the same doctrine that, mainstream folk did. And so just the idea of, the panic of, Lord, we're already going through enough as Black folk, and now you're going to bring this to the table. Just swallow it, and the ways that the church could be almost abusive in the, you don't get to be this. And, and I'm thankful for having grown up in a Baptist church in Southwest Washington, D.C., where I was raised under the leadership of a pastor who was blind, who only talked about the radical, unconditional, unmistakable, inescapable love of God. And so I grew up in that until I was about 15, and then he died, and a new preacher came in talking that stuff, and I was like, Mom, I'm not coming back to church. I don't like this dude. And she was always downstairs in the kitchen doing that part of service, and so they listened through the system. And then this son, she had me come back to church, but she also came upstairs, almost in support. And she was like, if he said something crazy, you can go, baby. And sure enough, he did. And I backed out of the church backwards, like, say something, and Mom was like, baby, bye. And it just felt like, wow, all of a sudden, this God who I had been talking to, like you talk to, like I was talking to my invisible friend, like I was talking to, like, I believed that God was a very present help in times of trouble. So I was always like, hey, I know, oh my God, I'm lost between these 2 answers, God help, or, God was just always there in conversation. I was like, so now somebody's telling me who I am is wrong. If that's true, I haven't done anything. I'm 15. I haven't done anything yet. I didn't kiss a boy. So if you don't like it, take it. But I need to know we're okay. So do something. Give me some sort of sign that we're okay. I went to school the next day, and a boy I'd liked since 4th grade, and now I'm in the 9th or 10th. He says, I don't know what it was, but something last night told me to tell you I like you. And that, for me, was the voice of God speaking to him. And I was like, okay, no matter what the church says, me and God are good. Because, people sitting and get their souls kicked out by somebody telling them who you are as a homosexual is an abomination, right? And that man got a child out of wedlock and has been unfaithful to his wife. And I'm like, you being unfaithful to your wife is on God's top 10. This ain't nowhere to be found. So how did this even get to this level of condemnation? But, God bless, people hurt people. And people feel like they aren't enough, always want to try to find somebody to make less than them. I remember one time coming out of a restaurant and a homeless guy asked for some money and I offered him, the half a chicken and roasted, and vegetable. I had a whole lunch pack because I saved half a dinner for lunch the next day. And I was like, well, I've got food. And he was like, nobody wants your damn food, faggot. And I was like, you're hungry and homeless and you still drop that F-bomb like it gave you some sense of power or authority. And that kind of craziness, is just kind of the stuff of hurt people. Because when I looked at him like, was that supposed to do something? He's like, bro, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. I just really wanted some money. I was like, yeah, so you can go get some. I'm not giving you money. But if you're hungry, there's a half a roasted chicken in here, some broccoli, and some garlic mashed potato. Oh, that sounds good. And I took the napkin out and put it on him. They say, eat up, brother, it's still warm. He's like, thank you. And then I saw the shame of, I really feel bad that I came at you. You know what I mean? That's shame. But we do that. We can lash out and then, either think we feel empowered or brace ourselves for the repercussion. And I thank God that, love made me do neither, because, I've sat in spaces where people, have been weighed down by church hurt. And really church hurt is just hurt that happened in the church. It ain't God.
Right.
That's
true. So I noticed that you have a hashtag Reimagining Bishop. That's part of this campaign. Am I correct?
So, as in October, as I said, so I've been doing pastoral leadership work since all of the 2000s. And as I prepare to go into this office, the definition of bishop is literally the pastor's pastor. So it's the person that pastors the council. And as I said, I talked about the region, but I really want to talk to creatives. I want to talk to, the LGBT community and Black folk and folk who have wasted a lot of lifetime sitting in the pew, like being church and never giving birth to the vision. The words is write the vision, make it plain. Never giving birth to the thing they've been called to do, because something always makes them feel like they're just supposed to be here. Just supposed to, if they good enough to just be here, to not rock the boat, to be safe, to be stable, then they're not going to dream dreams. But the dreams don't stop. And so what do you do when you've been called to start your own business? What do you do when every time you bake a cake, one of your friends is like, I don't understand why you don't own a bakery? And they mean it, because at Thanksgiving, 10 of your friends want to buy your cake and you're baking all weekend and you're doing stuff, you wear some outfit and somebody goes, that's really nice. Oh, I made it. What? Would you make me something? They're like, oh no, it's just a hobby. And the idea of reimagining Bishop for me is the idea of getting people to realize you're not supposed to be vice president. You're not supposed to be a spectator. You're supposed to be the leader of your life, of your family, of your job, of your vision, of your mission. And I'm here to guide you, because you're supposed to be the pastor of your life. And I'm supposed to be the pastor's pastor. So you got to get out of the pew and get to the front of the house. And at some point, give the speech of your life. Say the thing that you're supposed to be saying. Do the thing that you're supposed to be doing. Say it aloud, because you're allowed, right? And then you realize, wait a minute, I got stuff to do. I'm not just here to fill the seat. At some point, yes, I might be a pew dweller at your church, but then I come to my office and I'm the director. I go to my office at home and I'm working on my own book. I'm the publisher. Why am I not leading with that level of authority? I give you all this authority as pastor, but I don't give myself the same authority to lead in my own life. So I figure if I can talk to people from that space, I have this mantra that I say to people, that I desire what I deserve, and I deserve what I desire. They try to get people to say it 7 times in a row, I desire what I deserve, and I deserve what I desire. So they can wake up in full authority and go, wait a minute, I got something to do. That's how I wrote my first novel. I wrote JADED because I wrote my very first book, King Foster Graham, was about an empowerment book called Unclutter, Cleanse Your Spirit and Claim Your Stuff. It was 100 life lessons to walk people through this journey of delving into their past and the stuff that people put on them, telling them who they could and couldn't be, and scraping that off, and then discovering who they are without people shitting on them, and really considering their
Yes.
fullest life, and then designing the life that they want. You know, I would do workshops about it and all sorts of other things, but there's some people who just were never going to get into a self-help book, never get into an empowerment book. And one day, a character came to me kind of struggling in life the way I imagine a reader of the book would have. And so I started to write a novel with him doing the work. The next thing you know, I'm walking this journey of Joshua Arrington Knight struggling with what to do when you're through with love. And love's not through with you, right? We talk all this, I hate people, I ain't dating, da, da, da. But if you don't clean it up, you're never going to have the experience that you keep dreaming about. Because you're meant to have you're meant to live your life here on earth, not in your dreams, not in your journals. You're meant to live it here. And so I wrote a novel that walked people through the experience of somebody else having the experience. And that just broke everything over.
And yeah, it's such an amazing love story. We talk about Joshua and Elijah, and how they meet, how they work through their stuff, as it were, to have that love story. And so I was definitely impressed by Jaded. I was one of the persons, I couldn't put it down. Once I started reading, I didn't put it down until I was done.
Oh, thank you.
And likewise with Envy. So since that's the sequel, tell us about Envy.
So for your readers, Jada tells the story of Joshua Knight, who is an ad exec who, after an ugly breakup, decided that's it. Bury myself in work. New York's he's living in New York City, got enough distractions to keep him busy and enough success to keep him happy. And so he's just really weighed down in the, on with the, do the thing and then on to the next thing. And then one day, after yet another success, the staff is having a celebration and he's still in his office back to work. His assistant's like, come on, come get a plate, come get some cake, something. We've done it again. And he's just kind of like, no, I'll come. And he kind of, imagine like almost like a soap opera turns and, it starts to think like, wow, I wish life had more to it. But he doesn't really think that until a song comes on that's playing on the office system. And it takes his thoughts somewhere. And he remembers the good parts of the relationship he had been in. And then he remembered the breakup and he just kind of got angry again. But then he remembered joy again. And he, by the time he kind of feels a tear and wipes away, he realizes he's missed life again. The party's over, everybody's gone, and the cleaning lady's like, "Come on, Mr. Knight, don't don't be in here all night if you're not going to celebrate." But he wakes up the next day with the song disturbing his peace. He goes looking for a song he can't describe. He didn't know the name. He didn't know the gender. He just was kind of jazzy. It was big band. I don't know who it was. Goes looking for it in a couple of places, can't find it. Finally arrives at a Roadhouse oldie store that has as a theme, we specialize in the best and the rest. And it was just kind of like, that's a good thing. As a marketing man, I like that. Sat in there a couple of hours, pulled some records, but couldn't find it. And when he first comes in, sees a beautiful, tall, dreadlocked, well-dressed, dude stacking records. Mr. Henderson, who we'll talk about later, Mr. Henderson runs the record store. It says, oh yeah, he's here all the time. He comes in every so often to fill up his rack. I think he's a producer or a singer or something. And the guy's like, yeah, I'm not looking. Joshua's like, I'm not looking because I'm not looking. And after a few hours there, decides it's time to go. When I can find it, takes the music to the counter. And the guy he was ignoring starts singing the song he's been looking for.
Yes.
He walks up to him to say, who is that? And ask, who are you? And then the question, what do you do when you're through with love? But love's not through with you. Courses through the book. And he's got to deal with his own hurt, his own judgment of himself, his own expectations of his parents and what he thinks they'll think. And most of all, the heartbreak that broke his heart 5 years before. And so there's a moment where he and the ex and the next, hello somebody, are all in this moment of confrontation. And after that moment of healing, he realizes, I've got to fix this other thing. And so he finds himself at church. And, there's that break open, that breakthrough. And then he and Elijah move forward. And Envy, So I thought that Jaded was done. I was like, yay, what happens at the end of Jaded happens. They get married. It's like, I'm good. And 5 years later, Joshua sat down just as kind of, how come you haven't come by the house? How come you haven't come by the house? He literally sat
Yes.
down. How come you haven't come by the house? And I was like, oh. And so the first night he just kind of sat at the computer and he's like, so, I know you were worried about me and my dad. We're good. And you know how Eli's, how Eli's dad is. So we all hang out. So as you know, Envy starts with the four of them having, because the moms are always kind of like, we always get, to go see our sons in New York and have cute time. And the daddies were like, well, we want some too. And so we start Envy with the two husbands hanging out with the two fathers-in-law. And, it begins with a tragedy that throws Joshua into a tailspin, because he's got some loss to deal with, and some other stuff that's been untapped, that he's got to deal with. And then, while Elijah is preparing for this really big night, another element steps itself in that becomes a thing to deal with, and that's when it comes in. Somebody that's looking into their house thinking, if I, my life is good, but if I only had him, they're trying to cause some consternation in their household. And so it's really a play on that kind of grass greener other side, but deeper than that. Like, I feel a lot of times that gay men, especially black gay men, especially men who aren't living their richest lives, can kind of fantasize. It's like, I remember I said to my friends, the thing that was hard for me, WD, when I came to New York, was how insane it was to be on a date with somebody who always seemed like he was looking right beyond you. Like, New York was always busy. And, like LL Cool J was going to be walking by with his wife and go like, I'm leaving you, I'm going with him. Like, it was always this never enough, always expecting something else. And, and so it just really became kind of, I didn't want the couple to suffer, any more madness from inside the house. You know what I mean? No more, he cheated on him, or kind of those things. It's like, no. You got enough elements coming at you from the outside to not have to try to destroy this from the inside. So I wondered what that would look like, and imagine an Elijah now successful, and Elijah now touring with other people, and sometimes as on his own, and what it would look like for somebody who dreams of being part of some super couple. They don't bring anything to the table. I just want to be with him, and then we'll be a super couple. But I got to get rid of him. He's in the way. How do I get rid of him?
Yeah, that's why I call Asante a graduate of the Eve Harrington School of Ruthless Ambition.
I lived for that. I lived for it because it was so brilliantly spoken, because it's always somebody trying to insert themselves into a good life, like the good life wasn't built, right? Like it's an institution. Here lies good life. If I push you out of the way, I can step in. But that has happened time immemorial. And the young girl, the young boy who thinks you've built this life, I'll take it now. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So. No, just we're touching on it briefly. What I appreciate about the book is you brought in a generation of two men who are of a certain age, like me, Mr. Henderson and Mr. Henderson. And I mean, to show, yes, because that's right. They haven't gotten the kind of attention. Usually it's often can be very, shall we say, youth oriented, and you don't rent a.
I love it. So at one point after Envy, and after Because He Lives, I had 4 novels in my brain. 2 of them I just referenced, Mama Please and Wine and Cheese. But of those 2, there was those 2, Tradition and Meet the Hendersons. And I did a synopsis. I did kind of a 1-page JPEG synopsis and posted all of them. It was like, hey, everybody, I've got these 4 novels running through my head, through my heart. Which one would you support next? And beyond measure, especially among young people, they were like, please do the story with the older couple, because we need to see ourselves. We need to know that our love is real. We need to know our love will last. We need to know that we get to have a love story. And because I had already had a part of the story in JADED, where when going through the struggle of what he thinks is his breakup with Eli, Joshua finds himself back at the record store, and he talks about his heartbreak. And there, Mr. Henderson tells him about his other Mr. Henderson, his partner, and he tells him their backstory, about how they met in the military, and love. And at the time, he didn't know how to come to me, and so I moved to New York without him, and in heartbreak. And one day he's leaving the house, and and looked up, and is walking down the street, and just head down and walks right into the mountain of his man.
Hey,
show me where we live. And he's like, "What? Show me where we live, baby."
Oh,
but now is now. And so I already had the precipice of this story. I didn't know, I hadn't delved into it backwards, and there was a whole lot of forward to do. And so if they had to have their own story. So
of course,
it had to be extracted from JADED. Their story had to be told. Two things really overwhelmed me about Meet the Hendersons WD. One is that not long after I published it, in like October or November, in the first in the December issue, I think it was 2011, maybe 2012, I don't remember that. The New York Times did a cover story on a Black gay male couple who had been together 46 years, and they met while one of them was in the army. The other one was a civilian, the other was in the army. The Hendersons had been together 46 years, and they met in the army. And people were like, "How did you get this novel done?" I was like, "This novel's been out for a month and a half now." But 46, both couples have been together 46 years, because I had a meeting at 19, and so I figured 46 would be good retirement age, not at 65, young enough to still be able to travel and live a life, but seasoned enough to have lived a full life. And so, and it's the only novel I've ever written. I wrote the last 3 or 4 chapters of Meet the Hendersons in full tears. Typing and crying, typing and crying, typing and crying. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I realized, because I'll be 60, and so I was in my late 40s. So just even for me, the idea of seeing them was a beautiful thing. And I have a couple of friends, Larry and Paul Fulton Woods in Washington, D.C. And Larry and I are about the same age, just a few years younger. And they've been together since Larry was 21. And so for me, I had to insert this real life couple into the story of this imaginary couple, because I needed to show somebody that this couple exists.
Yes. Oh, yes. And because so oftentimes these couples aren't getting the attention or the energy that they deserve. They're the ones on whose shoulders we stand.
And there are couples like you and your partner, right? But we don't know, because often we don't talk about how we haven't created a culture or a community where that kind of couple feels like they can exist. So they just extract themselves from it and go build a nice house, and they might spend time with their families. But community isn't, we don't often show that, sometimes because we make the fear that this couple can't trust somebody else in their house. The truth is, that's not it. It's just that y'all wanted a house in the life, we wanted a house in the life, and then we never written the story of showing those couples come together. So for me, being able to fold the Hendersons and have them have sons like Joshua and Elijah, and to meet a couple like Larry and Paul, creates a community where they're neighbors. And so the neighbors go, hey, and they have a birthday celebration or anniversary celebration, and the community comes because the community knows them. The community knows them because one of them owns a business. The community knows them because the other one served in the military, and they remember him serving longer, so they remember him coming. They own a house. They take care of sons. You help our kids. You do stuff on the block for the block party. We know you. And so it was important to me that we knew us, that we got to see some version of ourselves where people went, I remember what it felt like one time. at BET, being in a conversation after work on a Friday, and people were talking about their relationships, right? And somebody was like, "Well, my husband, with my wife, or my girl, with my boyfriend, my da da da." I was like, "Well, my boyfriend and I, da 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 da," and I, I was talking, and I looked over and realized that the entire room had frozen, and I was like, And one of the women was like, I was like, "Everything all right?" And she's like, "No, no, 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 no. I mean, we know some gay men work here. They think we don't know, and so we don't want to be come. You're the first one to be able to just be like, so is that your boyfriend that picked you up? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Last Tuesday? Yes, that was my boyfriend. And was that him you brought to the Christmas party? Oh, no, no, no. That wasn't my boyfriend. I was dating that guy. This person, a year and a half later, this is my boyfriend. I'm bringing him to this party. But we're looking forward to meeting him. I was like, well, maybe you and your husband should come over for dinner.
Yeah.
It's like, that whole, the thing that they're talking about now, WD, is how some people stop talking about coming out and they talk about inviting in. So I realize that, you've got to invite people into your lives, because
you do.
Some young people talk about their parents knowing they were gay. They were like, well, why didn't you say something? They were like, it wasn't ours to say. We didn't want to yank you out of the closet. We talked, Tyler Perry even dealt with that in one of his movies. Like we all knew. We talked about you being gay. You didn't talk to us about it, so we weren't gonna drag you out. We didn't know how to. We didn't want to say nothing until you were ready.
There it is and stuff. And I say that because since I have my husband for 14 years, we have a son, and oftentimes it's just a matter of just talking, like, hey, no big deal. It's just part of the conversation. And stuff. But I also learn sometimes from when we're giving out this, this energy of fear, that's what that comes back. One thing that you had mentioned when you're talking about envy was grief and loss and how we need to deal with that. Because I know you then lost your best friend and my mentor and some friends last year. I lost my mother last fall. And so I would love to have you talk about that.
So, I mean, one of the things that is powerful in this journey as I prepare for 60 is literally realize how many people I've lost in my 50s. Because, I lost my mom in 2015 in January 5th of 2015. And then by the end of the year, I lost Natalie Cole, who, if you've read JADED, Natalie Cole isn't just that singer who makes those records to me. She's the woman I adored as an 11-year-old that I used to write letters to and send copies of my report card. Right? She blew my brains open with words like inseparable and rectified, and Joey, which says there's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Two fortunes are deeper than. So she really did realign my molecular structure. So losing the two of them and burying them 4 days apart. 4 days apart was devastating.
Yes.
And and I remember my best friend David saying, you've lost both of your foundations, are you okay? And I was like, but I've got my anchor. And then last year I lost my anchor. And I was on my way to bury my grandmother when I got the call that my best friend had died unexpectedly. And I just spent 2 weeks with him in August and just gone back to Houston in late September to go see Beyonce, and then the first week of November. We had posted the night before about working the polls because it was election day, and now when we talk about self-care, because that new book is Self-ish, Get Full of Yourself Without Guilt. And it really is about the work of self-care. That's not just taking a day off or getting a mani-pedi, but really like some stuff that's got to be excavated in order to really make room for the desires of your heart and your dreams and your joy. And, we've got some grief to be dealing with, the life we wish we had lived, the loves that we wish we had been able to pour into, but we weren't out, or didn't know how to love, so we didn't know how to love, right? We didn't know how to love, so we didn't know how to give. So, but then getting to ages where we're physically, literally losing people on top of a pandemic that wiped people out unexpectedly, on top of, turning on the news every other week and somebody is, suffering through walking while being black, sleeping while being black, trying to enter your own building where you got a key, but you're standing in front of the door and won't let me in, but you want me to prove I live here while black. You know what I mean? All of that stuff has just become a weight where we really have to do the work, the real work, the self-care, to to check in on self, to have conversations like this, because, some of us in our self-protection have isolated, right? One
Right.
of the things that, as a man of a certain age, that I was dealing with in the pandemic was realizing that I have a community of folk who love me, but who don't have access to me. So it's like some people need keys to my apartment in case I get sick, because I'm in a building with a security guard, and then you got to get buzzed in and da da da. And so if I don't post and I can't get to the phone, and somebody figures out I'm sick, they can't even get to me, even if they lived in the building. And so it made me open up my world to people in ways that were just kind of like, here's the key to my house.
Yes.
Right? Here's the key.
Mm-hmm.
And if you call me and text and I don't respond in an hour, you should come check on me.
Exactly.
But then a meeting, I can go, hey, blah, 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 blah. But people aren't going to miss you at 2:00 in the afternoon when they believe you're at work. It is if you don't show up at an event, if you don't show up at church on Sunday, if you don't come to a thing that they go, oh, I'm surprised you're not here. It's a house music festival. You always here. And that's the they go, have you talked to him? Have you talked to him? Have you talked to him? Let's get over there. And so what it feels like to really do the work to build the bridges of care, that make us look in each other's eyes and say, you all right? How's your husband? Y'all taking care of each other? I haven't seen any posts from you if you haven't taken a vacation this year. Where y'all going? It's still got time,
Right.
Because, that's what David would want, my best friend. That's what Louis Taylor would want. It's what Natalie would want. It's being in this space that says, hey, from up here, I see you doing all that bustling and moving. When you going to take care of yourself?
There you go. There you go. And thank you, Michelle, for your condolences.
Yes,
we
thank you,
appreciate
Michelle.
them.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
And people, you just celebrated 72, and people think at a certain age the numbness of losing your parent, goes away because you're an adult. Nope. And I preached my mother's funeral. I judged my mother. My son was like, Dad, please don't do it. Please. And I could not. I mean, just because I was so duty bound. So my brother was like, Mama's passing sick. Can't nobody do this with you. I couldn't figure why is my son so panicked? I was like, oh, my son is panicking because this might be the first time he sees his dad lose it. He's thinking, that's your mom. What if this doesn't go well?
That is so true. And so, I remember you told Natalie Cole. I remember when Aretha passed, I cried for 3 days when she passed. And my mother, she lived to be 93. And yes, I delivered a message at her homegoing, and to say since we didn't want anything black, and do it for my mother's favorite color, everyone wore red to celebrate her life. But you never know when it's gonna hit you, because sooner or later it's gonna hit you.
I was able to move mostly through peace because I had given my mother everything she ever wanted. Good conversation, good time, any trip. My mother, I was the flower son, so my brothers would be like, "We get you." Said, "Mama, well, nights when our flowers get here, because you're the flower son." So when my mother turned 70, I got her 70 roses. When she turned 77, I got her 7 dozen roses. So every little thing, every she loved Joe Williams, the jazz guy. She met him because I was working at BET. When she turned 85, the whole house, I had everybody just inundate her. Oh, yay. Oh, hi, booga booga. Oh, just inundate her with love. And then my mom was like, baby. So normally she would call me like 4 o'clock after she got her flowers. I didn't hear from my mother on her 85th birthday. She died at 87. I didn't hear from her until almost 11:30. And she's like, I've been on the phone all day. The bishop called, the archbishop called, Biscuit, which is what she called my son, because the first time she met my son, who I adopted, first time she met him, we went to Popeyes and got like a 20-piece that had 12 biscuits. He ate like a wing and 10 biscuits. And so she called it biscuit. But then she said, and then this girl named Natalie called. Now, is she in the choir or on the usher board? I said, Mama, that was Natalie Cole. She said, no, it wasn't. I said, Mama, that was Natalie. I said, did she not ask you for your butternut squash recipe. She said that she did. I said, well, you met Natalie, didn't she say next time she talked to you, she's going, I said, Mama, that was Natalie. She said, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Call me. You know what I mean? So all of those little things, those rich things. So I moved in a place of peace because I think it's because I'm the away son.
Mm-hmm.
So my whole family's in the DC area and I'm in New Jersey. So I always hear my mother's voice. So I still hear my mother's voice, Every once in a while, I miss her after Sunday service because when service was really high, my mother would feel it and call and say, "Ooh, baby, what you preach?" Because I felt it. And I literally almost have to re-preach the sermon. So that I miss that sometimes. But, just, like you said, you never know what's going to hit you.
Never know.
The opposite of that, is how desperately I still miss Natalie Cole because I thought we had more time. I just seen her in March, by December she was gone. Added and compounded on that, losing my best friend who, like I said, I had just seen. So there are times, WD, when I am re-shocked because I go like, wow, I haven't talked to David in a minute. I should, because he lived in Texas and Seattle and I lived in Jersey. And so I still am kind of like not seeing him is not the cue that he's not alive. Talking to him, that throws me into a tailspin.
Indeed. Shout out to Black Love, who just demonstrates that he loves you. I have all of your books. You've been such a light in his life, and he can't wait to see your works on the screen. So I will segue into that.
Well, let's. I know that we've got so there was always this kind of trailer because before people were doing book trailers. Maybe because I saw somebody do one. I did one for JADED because I wanted to be able to help people understand that this is a different kind of love story in that it wasn't just going to deal with the topical like Black church or I'm not out to my family. I'm not out to me. So if we could roll the trailer for JADED, that would be really great so we can transition into that conversation.
Okay.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. I remember when I used to love someone that looked just like you.
So that was the trailer that came when the sequel was coming because we reissued it with a new cover so that people could get into the story. And then as you see on Envy, I posted some of the things that people wrote to me about JADED, and it just really shook me. One brother wrote something like it's 5:34 a.m. in Meadville, Georgia, and I just finished a book, and I was like, wait a minute, just to read that kind of a thing from somebody was really kind of powerful to my heart, and it was beautiful how many people were like, I'd like to see this story, or I already feel like this is a movie. So one of my actor friends was like, you should really work on the screenplay. And so it took a few years because it's like, I realized that, you're taking a whole novel and shrinking it down to 141 minutes, you know what I mean? Which is really 141 pages. So what do you do when the story extrapolates and tells more stuff in more detail? And so worked on it, and sat down. And it was just funny when I wrote JADED. I took the manuscript and I called these my friends the JADED jury. I found 6 men and 6 women, 6 of whom were straight, who were LGBTQ, and said, "Does this novel work? Is this I didn't want it to just be a thing that that one type of person could read. I wanted people to see themselves in it. I feel like the deeper you dig, the truer you are, the more people can see authenticity." And 2 things happened that let me know I had to publish WD. One was a sister friend of mine who I gave the book to on Thursday, who's also an artist and an actress, came back to me with her manuscript on Saturday because she led my choir. And I
Right.
thought, oh, Lord, she's giving it back to tell me she didn't have time to read it. And she goes, well, you'll see my notes throughout, but my synopsis is on the back. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Oh, she said, just like you should. She said, yeah, I couldn't put this thing down. So I read it twice, and you'll see my notes. And she said, you'll see a special note. And it's because of Mickey Braden, actress, a recording artist, that there's a point in Jaded where Joshua goes to have a fight with Reggie, who was Elijah's ex, like a little side piece. That he wanted something with, but Reggie was just kind of like, you tall and fine, ain't nobody trying to marry you. I'm just trying to ride you, And so Joshua goes to the house after he and to check on Eli's house that he'd asked him to, and he finds Reggie there because Reggie had a key to Elijah's apartment when they dated years ago, and Joshua, and Eli never had a reason to change the key. So a fight breaks out. Joshua leaves to go to the pier to kind of clear his head. There he sees Kevin and Greg, and they have that healing. And before he kind of went home, and Mickey said, that fight ain't finished. And I was like, wait, what? And he got back to that corner, and instead of going right and going home, he went left and went back in that apartment and took it, and beat the snap out of it.
Yes, yeah.
For love. He's like, if you're going to have love, you're going to figure this thing out, you got to be willing to fight for it. And it started there. Then he had to fight himself. And so that happened. So I got this sister friend saying, oh, this is good. And then I had, a friend from college who was married man with 3 kids who read this gay love story. And he was like, man, I got hard twice. Was that wrong? And I was like, was it doing the sex thing? He's like, no. And I was like, then it worked because that means you felt something in their connection that was deeper than that. He was like, man, this is gonna be something. So I sat down and did the screenplay, and I let the executive at TVOne read it. I let my Shakespearean actor friend read it, who was just kind of like, yeah, you got a couple of things in there that are for the director's version, not for the screenplay, but it's a good story. And I was like, oh. And then my friend, for TVOne said, paragraphs and notes and just kind of, this is good, it's good. And then I'm blessed to have to have friends who do creative things. And I shared it with my best friend who happens to be actress Eva Marcel, who was like, this thing is touched. And I'm like, listen, we need to get this made. And I was like, yeah, we need to get this made. And so me and Eva gonna get this made.
Yeah, all right. Yes, indeed.
I'm excited because when I started writing, I was already in my 40s when I wrote Jaded, right? That was 2006. I was already in my 40s. So I never wrote a youth story. I was never, I could tell some part of their backgrounds like I had to do with the Hendersons and growing up, but I wanted it to already be about seasoned people who were dealing with the thing that blocks them from having the highest expression of love, because we don't deal with, in our communities, especially successful Black gay men, especially successful Black gay men in industry, even like the Elin Harrises. It's like, you never see us have this level of success again, right? And it's always because sometimes we date beneath ourselves or think we, can't have a love, or you get with people who don't know how to be with you and your success, I know what, people who don't know how to be in the room. I've been on a date at a Pride festival and had the artist wave at me from the stage, and I'm like, oh. I went to see Anita Baker once, and I sent her flowers. Yeah, because that was supposed to be my hello. I wasn't gonna fight to get backstage. I don't do that. And from the stage, Kevin Taylor, if you don't come backstage, and my date was like, and I was like, oh Lord. So we don't know how to be all that we want to be creatively and professionally, and make room for a love story. And so I'm looking forward to being able to tell stories that do both, that allow us to struggle, not just struggle in or struggle through, but struggle up. Right?
There you go.
You did the work to bring somebody to you whose heart is the heart that will heal your heart, right? Because, you know, God didn't bring Adam and Eve together to make kids. I don't care what nobody says. He says, it is not good for man to be alone, and sent a helpmate. The helpmate was from loneliness, not to procrastinate, not to procreate. It was, I'm going to send you somebody to help you with your particular concern. Now, you said you and your husband have been together how long? How long have you and your husband been together?
Well, we've been married 14 years.
And you just celebrated your 72nd birthday.
That is correct.
58, right? So somebody needs to see that so that they don't go, oh, well, I'm past 35. I may as well let go. And you got a son. So it's not like, well, now we can't parent. It's like we've got to see ourselves to be ourselves, right?
Yes, we do.
So I'm looking forward to all of these. I'm looking forward to all of these becoming movies so that we can have these conversations and somebody else can say, you know, I did not think I was Joshua, but I sure am.
There you go. There you go.
My Asante almost, you know, our Asante almost pulled us apart, and we were separated for 2 years, but we got back together once we cleared the air. Just these things that remind us that we get to be present in, with, and for love and life. Because it's not love, because a real true love is just going to expose the stuff in you that you still need working on, and just have somebody there to be a landing place when you do, while you do. Like the day wore me out. I got you. Not, yay, everything is, you know, is roses and lilac. You know, it's no.
No, it isn't.
It's not.
It takes work.
Made it hold you accountable to the stuff you said you was going to do. Hey, baby, where's the book you said you're going to write? Mind your business. You are my business.
And it takes work.
And it takes work. It's a job you signed up for.
That's right. That's right. So now tell us about one, where people can get your books, and two, your upcoming books.
So let's talk about the upcoming books. So you can get all my books at kevinetaylor.com. So the present 10 books. So JADED is there. So since we're talking about love stories, so JADED, the first novel, is there. Envy, the darkest shade of green, is there. The Hendersons is there, and so the Hendersons are extrapolated from JADED. Mr. Henderson owned the record store. You go backwards and get his backstory. You go present into love, and then you go forward. And it just, there was something in this book. Somebody I just had a conversation with said there, because he lives, and if you're a church-going person, because he lives, it's not just the title of the story, like this brother who struggles with coming out to his family because of his role in his family, the boy and the legacy builder, and the person who's supposed to do what the father wants, But he goes to this conference, meets this guy, they have this epic weekend, and then are pulled apart because of the tragedy, but he can't let the thought of him go because he lives, because it's a real thing now. It's not just emotion or some story in your journal. And so those four are the novels, and then there's the new self-help book, Selfish, Get Full of Yourself Without Guilt, that comes with its own accompanying journal, because young people are like, this needs to come with a guided journal, so I'll do the work. Okay. And so what really happened is I took the lessons and the exercises that were in the book and extrapolated it and put it in a separate book.
Right.
And then there is my autobiography, Never Too Much. This is my story of big words, big dreams, and an audacious big life. And then Unclutter, and then Get Off Your Ass and Do Something, which is a collection of sermons and sayings and kind of these things that people are like, I need that in a book. And then, my greatest work, I think, just because it's deeply personal, it's called It's Time for Some Action. We're dealing with self-image, self-worth, finances, and each of the chapters is headed by a quote from my mother. And so I felt like my mother was the greatest teacher I ever had. And many of us say that, but I was called a commission one time by a spiritualist to say, you need to get these lessons out of your mama so that they live in the world. So all 10 of those books exist on the site. And coming in the next 6 months are Mama Please, which will be out by the end of the year. Mama Please, I've been working on for a while. Mama Please is the story of a young man who is succeeding everywhere in life except in his romantic life, because he just keeps choosing the wrong people. So his mother decides, my baby don't know how to pick a man. Let me do this for him. It really kind of goes through her life in the church, just kind of interviewing and doing this stuff. It's just kind of like, Mama got this. And he's like, Mama, please. Because she at times has conversations that he feels are inappropriate, or she's outing people like, that boy gay. Give me your number so I can give it to my son. Mama, you don't even know if he's gay. That boy gay. You know what I mean? You know, and it's got some wit to it, but it also has this kind of showdown when a mother has a moment with a mother, so the church don't appreciate her having these conversations out loud about her son and his gayness, da 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 da. And so, you know, the mother's board decides they need to have a meeting with her, and they don't want none. And so that, you know, we go to this fabulous story over here, and then Wine and Cheese is a May December romance thing. It's you know, one of the things that that has visited my life a lot, being, you know, a man of a certain age, but who is still vital, who still dances for hours at the Brooklyn Soul Summit. I mean, hours. I had a young man come back, like, we were on the floor for 3 hours. Was everybody dancing? Left, you know, came back an hour and a half later, and I was still at the same spot. He was like, "Are you still here?" I was like, "This festival is once a year for 8 hours. If I don't have to miss any of the 8 hours, I'm not gonna. I got 33,517 steps. That is 15 and a half miles." And he was like, "Good God!" And so I used that and another couple of things that happened in these young men. But there's one young man who was just kind of like, "You see me anywhere at this party, you decide you want to kiss me, I'm fine with that." And so it's just the whole idea of this older man who has done the work to be who he is today, and meeting some like a young titan who's not scared of him, who's also creatively and, you know, fiduciarily his equal. So he got his parents. He's not having a daddy issue. You know, I think what he says is something like, "Oh no, my father, I'm fine. I'm not experiencing any of those kind of issues." And he says, "You're old, but I'm old enough to be your father." And he says, "Yes, but you're sexy enough to be my daddy." Right?
Well.
And dealing with the fact that people mature at different ages, just like some wines, just like some cheeses. So.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Well, we are coming close to a close for our book chat, and I just thank you so much for being back again. You know, we could probably do this for another show at this point. So,
and when the 2 new books come out, we will. How's that?
Okay. And so, okay, you put your website.
Yep. So again, it's kevinetaylor.com. That's where all my books can be found, all of the empowerment books. And I'm self-published, and I like doing that because it allows me to keep costs at a really decent level, but it also allows me to sign every book. I like that, you know. I like the connectedness of that. And so my friend put together this amazing website, and so all of the books are there, and I sign every copy. And this matters, you know. Our stories matter, our love matters, our lives matter, and so it really just, you know, it's a joy to me to be able to dig this deeply into the, you know, into the rich soil of Black excellence, of Black culture, of queer love. I think, you know, deep down in there you find Gladys Bentley and Moms Mabley and Bethany Smith and James Baldwin and Langston Hughes and County Cullen. So I'm gonna keep digging.
I know that's right. And there's one independent author to another. I give my hat tip to you. Now, just very quickly, we have about maybe 30 seconds left. What advice would you give to your 13-year-old self?
Ooh, just right? We're always waiting to be just right, to be perfect, to be perfected, to be perfection. And if I could have gotten myself to write earlier, to just write, to just put the pen to the paper, I wonder what I would have been able to explore then. But to my the advice I have for my 13-year-old self, I have for you in 13 seconds. Just right.
Hey, amen. This is W.D. Foster Graham, the book review editor from Inside News. And I say again, I give thanks and a hat tip to our wonderful guest, Kevin E. Taylor. As said, what do you say? We don't stop writing. For a conversation about McFarlane, See you in the next go round.
Y'all be blessed.